Hi, economists typically differentiate between perfect competition and imperfect competition. Perfect competition means there are a lot of small companies, you might think of small and medium-sized enterprises, SMEs, a lot of small companies which have no influence on the market price. So the market price, P upper bar, cannot be influenced by these very small or medium-sized companies. Whereas imperfect competition means, in fact, a monopoly. There's one large company, and this large company has an influence on the market price, right? And that's the main difference between perfect and imperfect competition. So what does that now mean for profit maximization? Let's have a look on that. So let's maximize profits. Profit maximization says you have a profit function PR equals total revenue minus total cost. And if you derive the profit function with respect to quantity X and set it to 0, that's the so-called first order condition, then this leads to marginal revenue minus marginal cost, which is set to 0. And if you take plus MC, then it ends up with marginal revenue equals marginal cost. And have that in mind for a second. So profit maximization yields to marginal revenue equals marginal cost. That's what we found out. And now let's differentiate between perfect and imperfect competition. We know that total revenue is price times quantity. However, in perfect competition, the price cannot be changed by the small and medium-sized companies. So P upper bar is here the main insight. So then if we derive total revenue with respect to X, then this yields P upper bar, that's just the price, and the price is then equal to the marginal costs. So that's the result for the perfect competition. And how does it look like for imperfect competition? Well, here it's different because the total revenue is dependent on price times quantity. However, and that's the main difference, the price can be influenced by the monopolist in imperfect competition, where here it cannot. This now changes the derivation. So if we derive total revenue with respect to X, then we have P prime X as a result. So we have to derive the price function, which is a function of quantity. And this changes the world. So how does the total revenue function look like in the monopoly case? Well, it looks like that, like an inverted U-shaped curve. And how does it come from? Well, we have this P, which is dependent on X, and that could be a linear function like this one here. So we start here with A, and the slope is minus B, and that's just a linear function. That's the P of X. And if we multiply P of X with X, then this yields, why don't we do that? A minus bx multiplied by x yields a times x minus bx squared, which is then the total revenue function, and that's an inverted U-shaped curve due to the minus right here, and it looks like that. So that's the total revenue function. But we are interested in the marginal revenue function, and how does the marginal revenue function look like? Well, the marginal revenue function is the green line. And how do we derive the green line? Let's go back to the total revenue function, which is price of x times x, and price of x is a minus bx times x. So this gives us the total revenue function, and price of x here is the blue line. Price of x is a minus bx. And if we now derive the total revenue function with respect to x, then this yields a minus 2bx, which is the marginal revenue, and the marginal revenue equals marginal cost in case of profit maximization, right? So we can see that the marginal revenue function is twice as steep as the price function, and that's the main result here with respect to the marginal revenue. Did you get it formally? No? Well, let's do it again. So that's the total revenue function, and that's a minus bx times x, right? So I wipe out here and multiply a times x minus bx squared. This here is the total revenue function, and the total revenue function looks like that. It's the inverted U-shaped curve. And if we derive the total revenue function with respect to x, this yields then a minus 2bx, which is equal to the marginal costs. Now you see it, right? And where is the marginal cost curve now? Well, just take the marginal cost curve here and say this is the marginal cost curve, and you see where the profit maximum lies, where marginal costs meet marginal revenue. This is here, and this ends up with maximizing quantity, which is the Cournot quantity, and a maximizing price, which is here the Cournot price. That's now the monopoly case, and we have to dig deeper here.